They'll give you land if you have heart, and always get up and work real hard. You might just make it on this western plain. The storms will sweep you off your feet, and the water's scarce when you're thirsty. Yes, it's tough living on this western plain. But if you have nothing to lose and riches to gain, I can't promise you'll find gold or fame. Might just give it a shot on this western plain. If punching cattle seems too hard, you won't like working on them railroad cards. I reckon this life's not for you on this western plain. 'Cause they'll give you land if you have heart. If you always get up and work real hard, then maybe you'll make it on this western plain. Hello, sir. I am a journalist from New York writing about life in the West after the Homestead Act and Pacific Railroad Act. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Well, there isn't much to do but work on this railroad and herd cattle. I reckon I can spare a few. What would you like to know? Tell me about the Homestead Act. How did it affect settlers in the West? Well, the Homestead Act is one of the reasons many people moved out west. The Homestead Act provided families and individuals free land, up to 160 acres, as long as they were willing to build a house and farm the land for at least 5 years. Well, that sounds great. Sounds like quite a deal. Certainly was. But the downside was that the land was not really suited for farming. The Great Plains are hot and dry. The land is flat, and the winters are harsh. If the winters don't damage your home, the growing season's sure to give you trouble. Well, how about the Pacific Railway Act? How might that change things? Well, as I mentioned, there's not much to do but work on the railroad and herd cattle. I reckon once the Central and Union Pacific railroads meet, it's going to bring a lot of folks out west. It's much faster to transport goods and people, so I reckon there will be a lot of changes. New jobs, businesses, and such. What has changed the most since you've lived out west? The landscape. I've lived here all my life, and there used to be many buffalo that roamed the lands. The natives had tribes and settlements all throughout the West. Well, what happened to the buffalo and the Native Americans? The Homestead Act claimed land for families and individuals. The Pacific Railroad Act stated that the rail companies owned the land 200 feet on each side of the railroad. Native Americans were quickly moved to reservations, or small settlements, where they were told to farm instead of hunt. Many times the natives did not go quietly. The more people that moved west, the more buffalo were hunted and disappeared. This was a problem for the Native Americans because they used every part of the buffalo. They used their bones for weapons and tools. They used their meat to survive, and they used their fur and skins for shelter and clothing. They didn't know much about farming, and they hunted and they gathered. And so I think that the Homestead Act and the Railroad Act has really affected the lives of Native Americans who've lived here. Well, thank you very much for all this information. I've learned a great deal about the Railroad Act, the Homestead Act, and life out here in the West. I appreciate it again. Have a good day. Yep, you too. Have a good one.